like a ASCAP, musicians union, a lot of the touring base is based here, like a lot of touring equipment rentals, tour buses. Um, yeah, and just like a lot of musicians in general live here. Like there's a big infrastructure in
That's been
Nashville.
great.
Yeah.
So thank you for the interview. And I wanted to ask, is this, I know that when I interview bands, they hate when I mention this. This is not a record recorded because of the pandemic?
Well, we were gonna record a record anyway,
Okay.
but it was kind of the pandemic's, I guess, sped up the process.
Yeah,
We
I can
started
imagine.
we worked on it earlier than we would have before the pandemic. So.
And in your part of the country, everything is okay? It's back to normal? Everything is open?
Yeah, basically. I mean, it's people wear masks and like some places, some music venues you have to have like a report of vaccination. But,
Okay.
that's rare, for the most part it's pretty open.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Right.
How's it
So,
where you is at? How's it in England?
well, to be honest with you, we live in a village,
Okay.
and since the pandemic, I haven't moved much,
Oh,
outside of my area.
yeah.
So yeah, we live in the middle of the country. I haven't been in London in over a year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah,
right. I don't really miss it. I prefer the country.
oh yeah, like are there nice like lakes or,
Yeah, there are a few lakes around here. It's
wildlife?
really pretty.
Nice. You live
It's a
in
massive difference from where I come from, because where I come from is really hot and dry,
Yeah,
or humid. So here it's not raining, and
really?
it's quite pretty. A lot of wildlife as well,
Nice.
which is
Do you
nice.
live like a cottage or something?
No, it's not a cottage.
Okay.
Just a normal house.
All right, all right.
But there is this, I guess, this picture of England with the cottage. I know what you mean.
Yeah, like out in the country and stuff.
Yeah, there are a lot of cottages around here,
Yeah.
but they're very expensive because they're converted to houses. So most of them are quite expensive, like proper expensive.
Yeah, yeah, like well done
Yeah,
on the inside. Looks like Hobbit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I have a series of questions. So probably I'm gonna. I mean, I have the right order on how to ask them, but probably I'm gonna jump here back and forward if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
So obviously you have a new album out called Ken.
Yes.
Um, Forgive me if I'm mistaken here, but are usually bands that have like a full-on gory title, like full-on. Even in your discography, you have titles like A New Era of Corruption, and The Endless War. Strong titles. How come
Yeah.
with this one you just went for Kin?
Well, with Ken in the Valley, we just kind of wanted just a simple title that sums up the record in just the most simple way. Same with the artwork. We wanted a simple image, strong image that can sum up the plot, and the storyline of the album in just like the simplest terms. And then you can work from that image or the title and kind of expand on it, rather than and keep it vague too, so you can expand on it. With other titles, it seems more like obvious as what it's about, and so it's kind of you can't really delve in deep, kind of keep it ambiguous, and indifferent, so to make the listeners have their own interpretation of the look or the sound.
And you have two figures, so I assume that the title's connected to these figures. Was
Yeah.
it intentional?
Yeah, it was all intentional. Yeah, so the two figures are basically after the valley, the trauma that was created from his childhood created two personalities within himself. Um, so those two personalities, are an evil self and a his real self. So those two figures represent that, and they're both related to each other because they're happening inside of his head. So they're both kin. They're both kin to each other. And as you see in the middle of the artwork, there's like a V, a valley, and that's related to the previous album. And those two figures kind of spawned from the valley, and they're also connected by a sort of like celestial stardust matter that you can see from the artwork. And there's also, like, in the negative space, the black, when you turn the image upside down, there's a demon, which represents the evil that followed Phil from the valley. So it's all, I mean, there's, in the simplest way possible, we try to, get the point of the story across.
And my next question is kind of, I mean, I have another questions, but I want to ask this one next. What is the valley?
The valley is basically the album, that came out 2 years ago. And that album is, the story is about our singer's childhood, his traumatic childhood, where, after his father died, his mother found a new guy who pretty much kind of uprooted Phil's life, got his mom hooked on drugs, and which led to her eventual death. And, the album kind of deals with, it's true events album. So it just tells like true stories. Like each song has a different story. Like a song, When a Demon Defiles a Witch, the first track from the album is, about a demon that his mom used to see by the fireside at night, and that would kind of like sexually abuse her at night. But it was, all in her head. She suffered from schizophrenia and multiple personalities. She had up to like 34 personalities, which relates to the song We Are One, track 6 on the album. And then there's also songs that deal with his abusive stepfather, like the song Black Bear, which is kind of refers to him as a black bear, which is the most, kind of dangerous animal in our area of East Tennessee, which also that refers to the valley, which is where Phil grew up, which is Hardin Valley, Tennessee. So all the events took place in there. And if you look at the album art, kind of gives it away. It's like the valley based on true events by Whitechapel. It looks like a early 80s Stephen King book, with the eyeball, which represents Phil and his singular perspective over across the valley, which is, where he grew up. So that album was, each song represents like a story from his childhood, real life, true events. And leaving that, this album is basically a continuation of that. Him in his teenage years, but it's basically, it's kind of like a fantasy story, which but it's not at the same time. It's, I guess the real aspect deals with like mental illness and like inner struggles, coming to terms with that. But the fantasy aspect is, those personalities actually being, real things that are happening in his head and battling. And throughout the record, it's just like an inward battle, and it's flows from first song to the last song. So we basically wrote the music to the album, and then we sequenced the music in order, and then Phil wrote the lyrics from the beginning to the end. So it basically tells a linear storyline. Whereas, the Valley told just short stories, like it wasn't in any linear form. Ken tells a story from beginning to end. And yeah, so Valley's based on true events. Kin is basically you know, not really true events, but it's kind of happening in his head. So it's sort of like a fantasy. And that's why the blue album cover, because the blue is, the rarest color in nature. Um, so it gives a more more surreal look to it. And
And there's a song in the Ken called a blood-soaked symphony.
Yeah.
Is it related from what you just said?
Yeah. So basically, a blood-soaked symphony is Phil's evil self.
Because there's a father mother in the song.
Yeah.
And video, obviously.
Yeah. So Phil's evil self um, manifests in his head and makes Phil kind of perform a ritual. And so he uses his dead stepfather as the blood ritual and he sacrifices himself. He made to the eye. So he made the eye on the Valley cover. He turned that into an ancient god, and Phil's dark self sacrificed his stepfather to the eye to resurrect his dead parents. But his parents aren't, they're not his real parents. Like, they're shells of themselves. They're not real. And he tries to convince the real Phil to come back to his world to stay, and so he can live, because without the real Phil, like the dark personality can't exist. So he resurrects his dead parents to convince him to stay.
Wow, that's pretty intense. Often when I talk to bands, I like to discuss the lyrics, the titles, what they mean.
Yeah.
And often I have very dramatic stories. Do you think metal sort of helps us to sort of deal with this, dramas and like bad experience that some of us have unfortunately lived?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, metal's when done correctly, it can be a very cathartic music. It's like, because you can go from like really light, inviting sounding stuff to just rising to a deep, heavy, climactic sound. And I don't think you could get that with any other music. It's very operatic, you know, um, operatic in the sense that, it's kind of kind of have to have a taste for it too. It's like, you're not, like, yeah, but you have to, like, it's not like for the everyday person, listening to the radio on the way to work. It's like, it's it's very dramatic music. You kind of have to, be there mentally to get to it. So I mean, but people that understand metal music, and they can, I feel like it's kind of like an escape. You can just get into it. It's very powerful music when done correctly.
When I mention drama, I don't mean like prima donna drama. I mean like Greek tragedies. Like
Yeah.
the drama of life. Like the
Yeah,
heavy
like
stuff.
love. Yeah, love and death.
Yes.
Yeah, Greek tragedy. Yeah.
Um, I recently found out, just that we're talking about this, that in Greek theater, the actors were not allowed to perform without a mask.
Wow.
And when I heard that in one of the lectures that I listen while I'm working, I immediately thought about all the concerts that I've seen where the bands were either masks or they were corpse paint.
Yeah.
Like I just saw the parallel kind of performance type, because when you wear a mask, you kind of embody something else, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah. You get into, character, just because it's fantasy, but it's big. It's big. You gotta milk it, work it.
right.
But I also relate it, kind of like when we're writing songs, I kind of think of movies, and you know like old texts, like the Tibetan Book of the Dead, like,
Mhm.
and like, when you die, this, how what Buddhists, believe happens when you die. It's kind of like the most real, like, kind of description I've ever heard. Um, I saw the movie Enter the Void, and that kind of opened my mind to that stuff. So it's kind of like when you write music, we're writing music, like for at least the past two albums, especially this one, like I've been thinking about, kind of like the process of it. You kind of like, what they believe is, you kind of see a white light, and you could either enter the white light and go into, nirvana, or you can kind of, you know, shy away from it, and then you go into this, the bardo, which is kind of this you're greeted by malevolent beings, but they can't hurt you because you're like a watcher, and you're greeted by benevolent beings, which are like nice things, and they kind of take you through your life. And it's called like samsara,
Mhm.
which means some sorrow, because life is suffering, and you kind of go through that. So it's like, it's kind of cool in a way if you could apply it to music, because you could like make cool inviting sounds, and kind of build it to like this big drama, like big deep, heavy, malevolent sounds, with distortion. So it's I find all that stuff inspiring.
Of course. I mean, I often talk about this stuff as well with other bands, but often also bands tell me that they're not particularly religious. Most of them are atheists.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the music is like filled with religious themes, and so often like really good. I mean,
Yeah.
like as if they were really religious. I find that really odd. Um,
Yeah.
are you
Well,
particularly religious?
religious, I mean, they deal with religion. It's like, all
Mhm.
symbolism, and belief system. So it's, it's a religion is, it's a creative act in itself, to be able to, do that. I mean, look at the cross. That's like the the it's like a symbol, it's like the biggest symbol in the world. Some metal bands, we kind of, it's, kind of theater, we kind of look to that stuff, as a,
Uh,
it's inspiring, but it's like you don't have to believe it.
um, when I look at your discography, it seems like there's a shift in style when with the artwork. How did that happen? I mean, before it was pretty much very horror themed,
Yeah.
whereas
It
now
kind
with the
of,
last, sorry.
with which ones? Well, we kind of started on I mean, it's just, you kind of learn as you go. Like when our first three albums are like really dark looking, and we just really wanted to stray away from that because it kind of looked too dark and dull. So, we started with self-titled. We started bringing that the saw blade star logo into it. So we kind of made that more of the focus.
Mhm.
So you look at our first three records, that's like our old logo. Then our next three records use the saw blade.
Yes. Yes.
So they're both kind of trilogies in itself. And then this new era with the Valley and Kin, it has more of a storybook theme. Like the titles are more prominent than the band logo. So it just just eras, different eras of the band. Um, yeah, that's what we're about. That strong imagery more now, because it's very important, to have a cool look as well as cool music.
And the three stars, do they mean anything specific, or just
Yeah, it's kind of like where we're from. That's that's on the flag of Tennessee,
all
our
right,
state.
okay,
So it kind of represents east, middle, and west
okay.
Tennessee, because it's like a long state. So it's kind of east, middle, west. So those are the three stars.
And the blade?
The blade kind of represents our sound, like a buzzsaw, distortion, sound.
And
It's, yeah.
I mean, I'm asking all these random questions because I've been following your band for a bit. So when I see your artwork and hear the music, I always think the questions that I would like to ask. So the other question is, you obviously been touring. You've been playing in London. So have you had a chance to visit Whitechapel?
I have, yeah. For about 2008, took a train with Freddie from Carnifex. We went down to Whitechapel and went to Whitechapel Fried Chicken and ate there. It was not good. But yeah, Whitechapel, I mean, it's like they just had like a bunch of like tents with like people selling stuff, like DVDs and a bunch of that stuff. I mean, there were some, old buildings, but it just all that, lure from the Jack the Ripper days kind of is not there.
No, it's all gone.
It's all gone. But yeah, I've been there.
Because I lived not far from there, and plus my university was there, and I worked nearby, so I know the area really well. And
Yeah.
but no, yeah, it's all gone. There is one area called the Brick Lane that has some of the old streets.
Wow.
But it's quite cool because you have a lot of bars, a lot of nightlife.
Yeah.
And I know
I
that
never saw that.
I know that Jack the Ripper did one of the murder on Brick Lane, so that's kind of historic. If you ever go back to London, is a place to visit.
All right, yeah, it's just a short train ride. I might.
So have you guys booked any tours?
Yeah, a couple next year.
Okay.
But yeah, we haven't announced them yet. But,
okay.
Yeah, we do have a couple next year, but none overseas, unfortunately, because of everything that's happening. We gotta make sure it's clear. We get the clear before we book anything.
Cool, man. I don't have any more questions. Thank you so much for your time. It was a nice chat. And
thanks,
so this interview will go on the next issue, which is out in January.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, and I'd like to check out your books. It's about like the album artworks and
some of them. Like this one is about death metal. This one is about black metal. And then this one is from Christoph, the Lord of the Logos.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So this is about his logos and his story.
Cool.
So different things.
Awesome.
So
was that Polish painter? I saw one book. It looked like the Russian painter. What is it? He's done so many artworks.
We have other books. Probably the best thing is to check the website.
Okay. Cool.
Heavy music.
Yeah, I checked the website before. I saw that Ernest. Was it Ernest Fuchs? Article. Ernst Fuchs.
Oh, right. Okay. It must have been on the main website, not the store.
Okay.
I mean, in just 4 years, we released 23 books. So I'm kind of proud of that.
That's awesome.
And we have a few more planned for next year. People like books more than I imagined.
Yeah, especially art books. You can,
Yeah, because people like to go digital, with even with the music. But like I've noticed that the record sales went up, so I took a gamble. Let's try books because obviously I'm not a label. Your new album has a lot of variations of vinyl. They look really cool. Do you get involved with that process?
Yeah, we get involved with all the process. I mean, my wife did the artwork for the album.
Oh, right. So, okay.
I was there for the whole making of it. And, she did it on a 12 by 12 canvas. So if you get the vinyl, you actually get the same size as the actual artwork.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's nice that vinyl, it's probably now more popular with, with all the different formats than when I started to buy vinyl when I was 15, 16. Like now there's more variety, more options.
Mm-hmm.
And you can buy from anywhere. When I lived in Italy, when I was 15, it was a mission to buy merchandise or or music, it was always hard. So now you can literally buy it from anywhere. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So it's much better, I think. But anyway.
Yeah, yeah. Vinyl seems like it's never going out of style, because it's like, you know, it's there. That's the music.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
needle to music. So it's cool.
Cool, man. Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Oh, you too, Alex. Appreciate it.
Take care. Bye-bye.
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 Hey folks, thanks for watching this podcast. If you enjoyed this interview, please like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friend, your family, and your cat, and stay awesome. Don't forget to check out our store at www.headingmusicartwork.com. Ciao for now.
Preview.